Hi, Matt Madigan here on the 27th day of this 40-day fast for 2022. Over the last 20 years, I've been doing long-term fasting, and normally that'd be private things, but this year I felt like God really challenged me to stir up the conversation, and so I'm vlogging my way through these 40 days and answering 40 questions in 40 days around long-term prayer and fasting. So hopefully you can be encouraged by this and challenged by this. Jump on my YouTube channel and you can watch all of those videos. So today's question is this: has the time for fasting finished? And it's a really important question because we don't want to be doing things that God's not calling us to do. So has the time for fasting finished? And the answer lies within Mark's Gospel. So let me just read to you just a few verses from Mark's Gospel. It goes like this. Mark chapter 2, verse 18, 19, and 20. Now John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting, and the people came and said to them, "Why did John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" Well, John's disciples in particular were ascetics. So they very much believed in the beating of the body, the disciplining of the body, in order that spiritual outcomes might come from that. And the Pharisees as well would fast as well. So if you were going to expect any groups to fast, it was going to be John's disciples and the Pharisees. But so they come and ask the question of Jesus, "Why are you not fasting?" And it's an interesting thing because Jesus wasn't against fasting. He had set an example of fasting for 40 days. And if you combine all the Gospels together, he had just done some teaching on it as well. So in Matthew chapter 5 and 6, you see him talking about it. So Jesus wasn't against it, but what's clear from this little passage here is that he wasn't fasting, but the other disciples were, John and the Pharisees. So what's going on? They asked the question. Verse 19, "And Jesus said to them, 'Can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast.'" Jesus is making some clear Christological statements about who he is. He's clearly saying to them that I am the bridegroom, I am God. But what he says about this is, it's interesting. He says, if you're at a wedding feast, then it's not appropriate to fast because the groom is with you. And so what he's saying to them, he says, I am God and I am here in your very presence. So now is not the correct time to fast. It wouldn't have been appropriate when the bridegroom was there in the flesh. But then verse 20, he goes on to say this: "The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast in that day." So what's he saying? He's saying, my bodily presence is here now. It's not appropriate to fast, but the days are coming when you will fast. And it's interesting, this phrase, "the days will come," or "in that day," they're both used in verse 20. Some people have interpreted that to mean that Jesus is referring to sort of the day between his death and the resurrection. In that single day, people will mourn, because in the Old Testament, mourning and fasting was the same Hebrew word. So how do we understand this? Well, Jesus is using a common phrase, "in that day," to talk about a period of time. He wasn't referring to a single day in which there would be mourning and fasting, so much as a time and an attitude that would mark the era of the church. Because he is saying, I will be taken away, and when I'm taken away, then is the time to fast. There is a beautiful banquet that's coming for us. There's a beautiful feast that's coming for the church at the end of history. And we understand that in Revelation 19, where the bridegroom is revealed once and for all, and the bride joins the bridegroom. Beautiful image. But between now and then, the church is in a period of longing and fasting and believing for the kingdom to come. And Jesus is referring to that. The church across the planet needs to be marked by fasting as we long and we bring the kingdom to places we go to. How do we know that that's actually the correct interpretation? Well, the key to this is actually, how did we understand that the disciples understood what Jesus was saying? If we look in the book of Acts and we see no fasting, we could probably assume from that Jesus' disciples didn't interpret it the way that I'm interpreting it. But what do we see in Acts? Well, we see in Acts chapter 13 and Acts chapter 14 the disciples fasting and praying. Acts 13, just worshiping the Lord and in fasting. And then in Acts 14, as they deliberately go about a decision-making process about who should lead the church. Well, there's some encouragement for you. I think we're in the days of fasting, and God is doing new things on the planet because his people are realizing that, yes, there's a time of feasting coming, but at the moment, the correct response to when we see brokenness and the kingdom not moving forward is actually fasting. Well, I hope this is a helpful video for you. If you like it, can I encourage you on your socials to like it and share it, get the word out there. If there's people you know in your world who are into fasting and this can benefit them, I encourage you to share that with them. Get onto YouTube, become a subscriber, like and share, and that'll be fantastic. See you for day 28. We're well and truly making progress through these 40 days now. Less than 2 weeks to go until the end. So God bless you today. Have a great day, and we'll see you for day 29.